Picture this: you're scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m., staring at that 3-word text message that just came in. I miss you. Your heart skips a beat, and suddenly you're analyzing every letter, every punctuation mark, wondering if this is the moment everything changes. But here's the uncomfortable truth that most men refuse to acknowledge: words are the cheapest currency in the game of love. Anyone can type those letters. Anyone can say what they think you want to hear. The real question isn't what someone says to you, it's what they do when they think no one is watching. In a world where social media has turned emotions into performance art and dating apps have reduced human connection to a swipe, we've collectively forgotten how to read the language that actually matters. We've become so obsessed with verbal declarations and grand romantic gestures that we've lost sight of the subtle, consistent actions that reveal genuine love. The truth is, authentic affection doesn't announce itself with fireworks and orchestras. It whispers through daily choices, small sacrifices, and unwavering loyalty when life gets messy. The reality of modern relationships is that most people have mastered the art of saying the right things while doing the bare minimum. They've learned to weaponize words like love and forever without backing them up with corresponding actions. They understand that in our instant gratification culture, most people will settle for sweet nothings delivered through text messages, rather than demanding the consistency that real love requires. This creates a dangerous dynamic where surface-level affection gets mistaken for deep emotional investment, leaving countless individuals confused about where they truly stand in someone's heart. Understanding the difference between genuine love and its cheap imitations isn't just about protecting yourself from heartbreak. It's about recognizing when someone has chosen you as more than just a temporary distraction. When someone truly loves you, their entire behavioral pattern shifts in ways that can't be faked or sustained through willpower alone. These changes come from a place so deep that they often don't even realize they're doing them. It's the difference between choosing to love someone and being unable to help yourself. The first unmistakable sign of genuine love reveals itself in the way someone begins to care for your well-being without any prompting or expectation. This isn't about traditional gender roles or outdated relationship dynamics. It's about emotional investment that transcends social conventions. When someone loves you, your comfort becomes their instinct. They notice when you're tired before you mention it. They remember that you have an important meeting and check in about how it went. They bring you coffee not because you asked, but because they want to see you at your best. This type of care extends far beyond grand gestures or special occasions. It lives in the mundane moments that make up daily life. They might fold your laundry without being asked, cook your favorite meal when you've had a difficult day, or simply ensure you've eaten when you're caught up in work. The key distinction is that these actions don't come from obligation or manipulation, flow from a genuine desire to see you thrive. When someone loves you, your success becomes intertwined with their own sense of fulfillment. But here's what makes this behavior so significant: it's unsustainable as a performance. Someone might be able to fake thoughtfulness for a few weeks or even months, but this level of consistent care requires emotional fuel that can only come from genuine affection. A person won't reorganize their schedule, interrupt their routine, or sacrifice their comfort for someone they're unsure about. They won't invest this kind of energy in a placeholder or someone they're keeping around while they figure out what they really want. The second indicator of authentic love emerges in how someone represents you when you're not present. This might be one of the most telling signs because it reveals what someone truly thinks about you when there's no immediate benefit to protecting your reputation. When someone loves you, they become your invisible advocate. They defend your character not because you'll hear about it, but because your reputation matters to them as much as their own. This defense mechanism shows up in various ways. They might interrupt a friend who's making jokes at your expense, redirect conversations when others are gossiping about your personal life, or simply speak positively about you when your name comes up naturally. They don't just avoid participating in negative conversations about you, they actively shut them down. This behavior stems from a deep sense of loyalty that treats an attack on you as an attack on them. The significance of this behavior cannot be overstated. Most people will remain neutral or even participate in criticism of someone they don't deeply care about. They'll laugh along with jokes that diminish your character, stay silent when others question your choices, or even contribute to gossip that damages your reputation. But when someone loves you, defending you becomes automatic. Your well-being and reputation become part of their identity, making them unable to stand by while others diminish you. This loyalty extends beyond just verbal defense. Someone who loves you will also be mindful of how their own actions might reflect on you. They won't put themselves in situations that could embarrass you or damage your reputation by association. They consider how their choices affect not just themselves, but you as well, because they understand that your lives are interconnected. The third manifestation of genuine love appears in how someone begins to self-regulate their behavior around potential romantic competitors, often before any official commitment has been established. This emotional exclusivity happens not because of demands or ultimatums, but because someone who loves you naturally begins to close doors that might threaten your connection. They stop entertaining attention from others, pull back from friendships that cross appropriate boundaries, and avoid situations that might create jealousy or insecurity. This behavior is particularly revealing because it happens without negotiation or discussion. They don't need to be told to stop responding to late-night texts from ex-partners or to avoid posting content that might attract unwanted attention. They begin to conduct themselves as if they're already committed because, in their heart, they already are. This self-imposed exclusivity demonstrates that they've mentally and emotionally made their choice, even if it hasn't been verbalized or formalized. The shift often becomes apparent in how they use social media and navigate social situations. They might become more private online, less responsive to flirtatious comments, or more selective about the events they attend. They start considering how their actions might affect you and the relationship, even when you're not around to witness their choices. This level of consideration can't be forced or faked. It emerges naturally from genuine care and respect. What makes this behavior so significant is that it reveals someone's true priorities. Someone who keeps multiple options open, continues to entertain attention from others, or maintains behavior that could jeopardize their connection isn't emotionally invested enough to make the small sacrifices that love requires. They're still operating from a place of scarcity or uncertainty, unable to commit fully to the relationship they claim to want. The fourth sign of authentic love becomes visible in how someone adapts to your world without losing their own identity. This is perhaps one of the most sophisticated expressions of mature love because it requires both flexibility and self-awareness. Someone who loves you doesn't try to change your core identity or force you to abandon your passions and goals. Instead, they learn how to harmonize with your life while maintaining their own sense of self. This adaptation shows up in countless small ways. If you're dedicated to early morning workouts, they might adjust their schedule to accommodate your routine rather than complaining about the inconvenience. If you're building a business that requires long hours and intense focus, they give you space while finding ways to support your efforts. They start learning about your interests not to manipulate or change you, but because they genuinely want to understand what drives the person they've chosen to love. The key distinction is that this adaptation doesn't come at the expense of their own identity. They don't abandon their friends, give up their hobbies, or sacrifice their goals to accommodate you. Instead, they find ways to integrate their life with yours, creating a partnership rather than a merger. They become the melody to your beat, complementing your rhythm rather than competing with it or being drowned out by it. This type of harmonious adaptation requires emotional maturity and security. Someone who is insecure or looking for a relationship to escape their own problems will either try to dominate your life or completely disappear into it. But someone who loves you healthily will maintain their own identity while learning to dance with yours. They'll ask thoughtful questions about your dreams, remember important details about your goals, and find ways to support your journey without losing sight of their own path. The fifth indicator of genuine love reveals itself in how someone responds to your vulnerability and imperfection. This might be the ultimate test of authentic affection because it's easy to love someone when they're at their best, but it takes real commitment to stay when the mask comes off. When someone truly loves you, they don't just tolerate your flaws, they love you through them. They see your darkness and choose to stay, not out of obligation, but because their heart recognizes yours even in its imperfect state. This acceptance goes beyond simply not judging you for your mistakes or struggles. Someone who loves you will sit with you in your pain without trying to fix you or rush you through it. They'll listen to your fears without minimizing them, witness your tears without being uncomfortable, and hold space for your healing without making it about themselves. They understand that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the courage to be authentically human with another person. What makes this behavior so powerful is how it affects the dynamic between you. Instead of using your openness as ammunition, future conflicts, or treating your struggles as character flaws, someone who loves you will respect you more for trusting them with your authentic self. They recognize that vulnerability is a gift, not a burden, and they treat it with the reverence it deserves. This acceptance doesn't mean they enable destructive behavior or avoid difficult conversations. Someone who loves you will challenge you to grow, call you out when you're not living up to your potential, and push you to be better. But they do this from a place of love, not judgment. They see your potential not as a requirement for their affection, but as evidence of the person they already love. They're invested in your growth because they're invested in you, not because they need you to be different to earn their love. The willingness to stay through difficult times, not out of fear, codependency, or obligation, but out of genuine cares, one of the rarest expressions of love in our disposable culture. Most people will stick around for the highlight reel, but disappear when real life gets messy. Someone who loves you understands that the real relationship begins when the initial excitement fades, and you're left with the choice to love each other through ordinary days and extraordinary challenges. Understanding these behavioral patterns isn't about creating a checklist to judge every relationship against it. It's about recognizing the difference between someone who is genuinely invested in you and someone who is simply enjoying your company until something better comes along. It's about learning to value consistency over intensity, actions over words, and authentic connection over performative affection. The uncomfortable truth is that most people have become so accustomed to connections that they mistake basic human decency for deep love. They're grateful for the bare minimum and settle for relationships that feel good in the moment but lack the foundation for lasting partnership. They've forgotten that love is not just a feeling, it's a choice that gets made daily through countless small actions and decisions. In our culture of instant gratification and endless options, finding someone who chooses you consistently is becoming increasingly rare. We live in a world where people ghost instead of having difficult conversations, where they collect romantic options like social media followers, and where they mistake emotional unavailability for mystery. In this environment, someone who offers genuine love with all its vulnerability, commitment, and daily choice stands out like a beacon. The challenge is that recognizing authentic love requires us to raise our standards and risk losing relationships that feel comfortable but aren't actually fulfilling. It means being willing to wait for someone who sees our worth rather than settling for someone who tolerates our presence. It means understanding that being alone is better than being with someone who doesn't value what we bring to their life. But here's what makes this pursuit worthwhile. When you find someone who loves you in these authentic ways, you discover what it means to be truly seen and chosen. You experience the peace that comes from knowing someone will defend you when you're not around, care for you without being asked, and stay with you through both success and failure. You understand the security of being loved, not for your perfection, but for your authentic self. This kind of love creates a foundation for partnership that can weather any storm. It builds trust that doesn't need constant reassurance, intimacy that doesn't require performance, and commitment that doesn't waver when things get difficult. It's the difference between a relationship that drains your energy and one that multiplies it, between someone who adds to your life and someone who simply occupies space in it. The journey to finding and recognizing authentic love isn't easy, but it's necessary. It requires us to become people worthy of this kind of love ourselves, while developing the wisdom to recognize it when it appears. It means learning to trust actions over words, consistency over intensity, and character over chemistry. Most importantly, it means understanding that love isn't something that happens to us, it's something we choose to create together. One small action at a time. In the end, the difference between genuine love and its imitations isn't found in grand gestures or perfect moments. It's discovered in the quiet consistency of someone who chooses you daily, defends you when you're not around, and sees your worth even when you struggle to see it yourself. It's in the way they adapt to your world while maintaining their own, care for you without being asked, and stay with you through both your light and your darkness. This is the kind of love that transforms lives, builds legacies, and reminds us what it means to be truly human with